Hello and welcome to the Jacksonville History Show. I'm Emily Liska, Executive Director of the Jacksonville Historical Society. This is the show where we discuss, analyze, and celebrate Jacksonville and North Florida history. Tonight I'll have as my guest architect Ken Smith, and we'll be talking about some of the area's historic lighthouses. And then in the second segment, Historical Society President Harry Reagan and his guests will give you a visual tour of the Catherine Street Fire Station. First, I'd like to welcome architect Ken Smith. Hi, Ken.
Hello, Emily. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening.
Well, it's great to have you here, and such a pleasure to talk about some of Florida's historic lighthouses. In fact, you were commissioned along with another architectural firm. You're with Kenneth Smith Architects.
That's correct.
You with a firm from South Florida.
We were retained by the state last year, and we were the leading architects, and we split the work with Bender and Associate of Key West to do a study on all of the lighthouses, all of the historic lighthouses in the state of Florida for the state, so that they could have a listing of them. They didn't even have an accurate list of all of the lighthouses, and have some idea of what they might take to restore them. So we visited all of the lighthouses in the state. It was great. It was great fun. We visited the ones from Jupiter Inlet north on the east coast, and Hillsborough or Tampa, the Tampa Lighthouse north on the west coast over to Pensacola. So it was quite an adventure. We got to climb to the top of all of them. We had a great time and prepared the report for the state that was delivered last May. And
what this report really does, it lets us know where all the lighthouses are in Florida. It lets us know what condition they're in, and really the status of all the lighthouses, and what needs to be done to bring them up to par.
Who operates them? Some of them are operated still by the Coast Guard. Others are operated by nonprofit local groups. Some of them are open for visitation. Others are not. There are contacts for all of the lighthouses. And there's a cost estimate on doing the restoration work for all of the lighthouses.
Now, before we look at some of these lighthouses, what we're going to do, I want people to realize you've won you've won hundreds of awards for your architectural work. In fact, with the Florida Trust probably, and I know you've won more than anyone else, your firm, Kenneth Smith Architects. But before we go to some of the lighthouses, I just want people to realize you are a full-service architectural firm, and let's show just a little bit of the work you've done locally, and this is just a smattering. Well, it's not coming, well, here you go, right here, the Florida Yacht Club.
This is the Florida Yacht Club that we did renovations and additions to, that was reopened last November or October.
And the renovations were pretty dramatic, and of course the Yacht Club dates to 1927. And I think what we'll quickly do is perhaps just look maybe at a couple of others before we move on to the lighthouses, because you have restored the San Jose Country Club. And this is still the interior of the Yacht Club here.
Yeah, this is their the bar edition. This is a new room that we recreated, that we built on the end of their Pirates Den, and they were very proud of that room because of the magnificent views they have in there. And really turned out well.
To really show the history of our city in that 1927 building. And then, of course, another building dating to 1925 is the San Jose Country Club, very historic.
We did a lot of work there. We did about three phases of work, around $4 to $5 million. And we renovated the interior to make it more compatible with the Mediterranean style of the exterior.
And we're going to show that interior in just a minute, because people who've dined there over the years know that for a number of decades it had this very low ceiling. And
well, it's not uncommon that as we were air conditioning
here you
in
go.
the 50s and the 60s, they put an dropped acoustical tile ceiling in their grand dining room.
But this is a wonderful historic preservation effort, bringing back the grandeur of that magnificent room at San Jose.
We were real proud of the lion's head brackets in there that were replicated from an old photo that we had of that area.
And one other that I think people all over town will be so familiar with is the magnificent Greenleaf and Crosby building downtown on Laura Street. There it is. And it was your firm that ingeniously added that wonderful glass addition on the side.
That side of the building, actually the building was designed by Saxby, and it was designed so another tower could come up over that three-story northern addition. And so our client decided they weren't going to build the tower, but they wanted to expand and have a reception, an atrium area for the lobby entrance, and that's what was created there on an unfinished side of the original building.
But beyond this work, you really have established this niche, historic restoration, and within that niche, lighthouses. And we're going to take a look at some of those. Probably one of the most beloved lighthouses in North Florida, and your firm has restored this just to grandeur, is the St. Augustine Lighthouse. And talk about that a little bit.
We got started working in St. Augustine, I think, about 1991, and we were working for the Junior Service League. This lighthouse had been leased to the Junior Service League at the time by the Coast Guard, and they were fundraising through a variety of activities, runs, progressive dinners, just all manner of things to raise money to do this. It was generally funded with a lot of historic preservation grants from the state, and we also had a grant from the Florida Inland Waterway District that helped restore it. But we did a total building restoration, included masonry restoration. This is a photo of what it looked like on one of the earlier phases, and the masonry tower there, you can see it's all mildewed. We cleaned it and repaired the masonry work and rebuilt and repaired the metal work at the top. Some of the lenses some of the glass had been shot out by a local vagrant, and so the lens, the magnificent Fresnel lens, was repaired from that.
And we have up on the unbelievable scaffolding job, I understand $100,000 worth.
This was about $100,000 worth of scaffolding. This project was completed by E.C. Kenyon Construction Company of Jacksonville, and it was a lot of fun to go down there and climb that scaffolding and see what they were doing on the outside of the building.
And for a minute, let's just get to how the public can use this. This is open to the public.
It's open to the public.
Every day of the year, I do believe.
As far as I know, it's
Christmas,
open daily,
perhaps.
because I've been down there on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, and there are people up there around the gallery on the lighthouse.
And we'll have the contacts on the website. One of the things I want to say about the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and as this is up now, you can see just what the complex, if you'll describe the complex kind of briefly to us.
Well, this is a keeper's house in the front, and it was a two-story brick keeper's house, and it originally was split down the middle and would house two families, two keepers there. And then there was a brick fence that surrounded their property, and then the little additions on the side of the keeper's house are kitchens additions that were there. Now it's used by the St. Augustine Lighthouse Museum, and it's used for a variety of events like weddings, wedding receptions, and they also have a museum and gift shop, or museum in the building. They've moved their gift shop to a new visitor center that they have there. The amazing thing is that they did an economic study last year for the impact of their lighthouse. It has over a $2 million impact on St. Augustine annually. They fully fund their lighthouse operations by gift shop sales and admissions, and they turn over $40,000 a month in sales tax revenue to the state.
And let me interrupt you. As exciting as St. Augustine is, and people are going to find out how to get there on our website, but in the meantime, we put another one is up on the screen, and this is another lighthouse. This is the construction of the lighthouse at Ponce Inlet, the Ponce de Leon Inlet Lighthouse, dating to 1887. You want to tell us a little bit about that when your firm's restored it?
Yeah, this was unique in that when they were building the lighthouse, they developed a system so that the scaffolding could climb as the masonry was erected. So this is a photo showing that masonry being erected. So they would do a lift of the masonry of about 6 feet, and then they would raise their scaffolding on the outside of it, supported and off of the masonry, and kept building it up to the top of the tower. So it wasn't scaffolded from the ground like we saw St. Augustine a moment ago.
Now this is located just a little bit south of Daytona, correct?
Ponce Inlet is a suburb of Daytona Beach. It's very similar to like South Ponte Vedra Beach on Jacksonville. So if you go out to Daytona Beach and you drive south, you can't miss Ponce Inlet Lighthouse there.
This is a beautiful restoration, Ken, and the public, this is open as well. People can find information about this on the website, and It's the second tallest lighthouse in the U.S., as I understand.
Yes. Well, this one has a magnificent station that's still intact with keepers' houses and 3 keepers' houses. But the one thing you want to see if you go down there is their historic lens exhibit. They have exhibits of the historic Fresnel lenses. You can walk right up to them and look at them. They're over 6 feet tall. They were made in France in the 1800s, and they're just magnificent, and you need to have a look at them if you get down that way.
And they've put another one up on the screen, and this, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is the Sapelo Island Lighthouse. Am I correct?
Yeah,
on
this
that?
is a historic photo. Sapelo Island, I think, was built, and Sapelo Island is a Georgia coastal island just north of St. Simon's Island. There's a visitor center in Darien. You can go to the visitor center and you can sign up for a tour out there and take a ferry boat to the island to tour the island. The original photo we had up there was taken in 1950s or so. The lighthouse was abandoned in, I think, 1903 until we restored it about 3 years ago. Then the second photo we had was what it looked like when we got there and we got started with the restoration, and we were measuring it and doing our drawings for it. And then the third photo that we'll see here in a moment is the restored Sapelo Lighthouse, and it's open now, and it's open for tours as part of the tour to the Sapelo Island there from the visitor center.
And here it is. This is actually your team, your architectural team.
This is Dave Luke and I and Joanne Cannell and Deb Hilliard when we went up there to measure it and to do to assess what needed to be done to it and to do measured drawings for the lighthouse to design the restoration work.
And I think the important thing, here's the finished product, your restoration effort. I think the most important thing to say about Sapelo and Ponce Inlet and St. Augustine, all 3 of these are open to the public and have just a huge following, and the public can find out how to get there. We'll put this on our website, and these are all easy to find and just a great day of fun.
This is a little more difficult to get to it, but the other 2 you can get on the galleries at the top. And on a beautiful day, it's a magnificent view from up there. The Sapelo Lighthouse has a wood stair on the inside, and so it's a little bit different than the other 2.
Now, I'll interrupt you. I believe this is the Amelia Island Lighthouse. Am I correct?
This is a historic photo of the Amelia Island Lighthouse. If you look there on the left of the photo is a cow that's grazing out there.
Okay.
And there's a keeper's house to the right that was there.
And this is one you're restoring now, or working on.
We're actually designing restorations for the Amelia Island Lighthouse now. It should be out for construction bids this fall, and the work should be completed next year. The lighthouse was transferred last year by the Coast Guard to Fernandina Beach, so they own it, and they're not sure how it will be open to the public, but it will probably be open as part of a tour from someplace off-site.
And you know, lighthouses have such an amazing following. You can rarely go to a lighthouse without seeing people milling about whether the facility is open or not. Groupies of sorts. I mean,
it's amazing. We see a lot of that. We went to the St. George Lighthouse as part of our study last year, and it's on an uninhabited island in the Gulf. It's a 10-15 minute boat ride. We got out there. There were about 8 people sitting on the lighthouse when we got there.
And I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention the St. John's River Lighthouse. I don't think we'll be seeing it today, a photo of it, even though we have one, known to some affectionately as the Mayport Lighthouse. This is certainly one that you've worked on over the years.
I worked on it with Herschel Shepard in the late 70s, and we did a stabilization project for the Navy at that time to make it weather-tight and to stabilize it so that it wasn't deteriorating from being damp and drying out. Had a family of owls living in it when we got started out there.
Ken, this has just gone so fast. We could spend an entire segment on lighthouses and should sometime. It's fascinating. I hope the public gets in touch with us so they can find out where all these tremendous lighthouses are. I want to thank you for being with us and want to invite you back again sometime. Next up is Harry Reagan, and he'll be giving you a visual tour of the Catherine Street Fire Station.